Hey there everyone, Joe Hain here, and I'm going to start doing something a little bit different. I'm starting a new series where I'm just sharing a bit more about myself, specifically my spiritual journey. I think I've had a very rare journey, and I hear other people experiencing bits and pieces of what I experienced, but my entire journey, the whole quest that I've been on for about 10 years now, it is pretty amazing, and it's inspired me to continue growing, and it's inspired me to share it with more people because I do mentor, I do teach, I speak individually with people, and then on the bigger masses on YouTube, obviously, and everything. But my story is compelling because growth is there. There was a spiritual arc, and I am humbled by what I have experienced. I really am super grateful and feel amazingly blessed. And the reason I want to share this is because there's other people out there suffering, and they're at a point in their life where I was, and they need to know that they can get beyond that and grow and get to a point of such self-love and such value that they can then go ahead and help others too, and just find themselves in this place of healing and love and just gratitude. And so it's there, and I've traversed it in my own special way. There is no two similar spiritual journeys. This is mine, and I want to share it. So I'm going to do it through some episodes. I ask, of course, to please subscribe. I'm sharing these, I'm putting this stuff out there so that we can all benefit. Please hit that notifications button so you're on the up and up when I release the new episodes on this stuff. I'm also doing other videos, quicker ones, shorter ones on mindfulness and law of attraction. But here and now, I just want to focus on sharing my story and how I got to where I am here and now. And that's through this spiritual quest. So this is episode 1 of how it all started. And it started with this book, The Power of Now. I speak to a lot of people, and they know this book, and it became, or it was, or still is their spiritual Bible in a sense at some point during their spiritual growth. Well, it was for me too. It was basically around 2010. I was working at a place called Bulgari. It's like Cartier, the fancy schmancy kind of retailer for jewelry and watches and stuff. But I was working at Bulgari in Chicago, Illinois. And so my days consisted of the 9 to 5 kind of thing, having 2 days off and going into work. I was really not motivated. I was not inspired. I was struggling to find my place in life. I just wanted to make a lot of money and escape. I wasn't going to do it there. It was very hard times. We're just coming off the 2008 big recession there and everything, and selling a luxury good was not very easy because it was the last thing that people wanted to buy at the time. So around 2009, 2010, still experiencing the lingering effects of that. I had this beautiful girlfriend at the time, Jessica Marie, and that was a shining light in my life. We're excited, and I had plans to become engaged. So that was in my mind. There's some good stuff happening, but all in all, I was in a place where I just felt unfulfilled. I was anxious about escaping my present. I felt like I didn't have any kind of purpose or any kind of calling in any kind of direction. I didn't want to be where I was selling luxury goods. It just wasn't for me. A lot of people love it. Wasn't for me, and I didn't have anything to really hold on to. I was born and raised in this Catholic family, and we were a little bit loose on stuff, but I did go to Catholic school all the way through grade school up into high school, so it was very much a part of my life. But I had kind of just placed all that behind me and moved on and forgot about that stuff. So I really had no existential considerations. I didn't think about God. I didn't think about my purpose on earth. I didn't consider that stuff. It was more of just all earthly measure, surface stuff, material things and wealth, and trying to get beyond to a point where I had to work for somebody else so I could just escape the gruel and the rat race. So I didn't really have anything. I was a bartender for many, many years, and a fellow bartender gave me The Power of Now. And she said, this book changed my life. And she was a dear friend. She's like, I want you to have it. She bought it for me. And what did I do? I took that book. I said, wow, it made a really big, important part on her life, a big transition, a lot of variables changing in her life because of this. She spoke so highly of it. So I put it on a bookshelf and let it collect dust for a few years. But then something happened, something piqued my interest. And so I was working at Bulgari and I started bringing this book to work. And right outside of Bulgari, where it was, I think it's still there, it was right by the Drake Hotel. And so in front of the Drake Hotel was this beautiful park right between Lakeshore Drive and basically the very start of Michigan Avenue, the Magnificent Mile, to where it all started. So I would take my lunches during the nice seasons and the nice months and the nice weeks in Chicago, and I would go out there and I would bring this book and I would read a few pages during my lunch and just kind of meditate and try to reflect and follow the principles. So I started doing that. Again, that was like 2009, 2010. I'm reading this book and I come across this extremely profound passage. It took me almost a decade to refine the exact point that I found back then that inspired this enlightenment. It's truly what occurred. I had a temporary enlightenment, a dance with an enlightenment, and it was insanely profound. It took a while to find it because it was just this long. It was like literally 10 words. It's basically, Eckhart Tolle told me in the book when I'm reading, and whoever else reads the book, that to consider that whatever thought comes next, to ask if it's relevant in that moment. Is it necessary to kind of think about that thought? It was just a very quick little consideration that he recommended. So when you're in that meditation, you're trying to free yourself of thought. So here I am, I'm sitting on a park bench, wearing a 3-piece suit, taking my lunch break. It's a nice summer afternoon. The birds are chirping in the park. People are walking their dogs. There's a homeless man sleeping one bench away, and I'm enjoying my lunch break and I'm reading this book. There's critters rustling about. I hear the cars going up and down Lakeshore Drive. I can even hear the lapping of the waves from the lake. Then there's the traffic and the hubbub of the city all surrounding me. And I'm just sitting there taking some time and thinking about everything that he's saying. So I'm trying this meditation thing, and I've been at it for a couple weeks at this point. So close my eyes, and this is where this little, it's almost like an obstacle course began in my mind. Sitting there, meditation posture, everything all good, upright, hands in my lap. And I'm just tuning into the outside world, my senses. I'm listening acoustically to everything that's going on, everything that I just entailed. And then I'm trying to smell and just breathe the air, concentrate on my breath. But I am literally just observing my thought and asking that same question over and over again. Is this thought relevant? Is this thought relevant? So all the thoughts that are coming in, before I used to take them, it would be like if it was a conveyor belt of thoughts and the thoughts were boxes, I'd take each box off and examine it, weigh it, try to figure out what's inside of it, give it all this attention. But here, this was a quick tool, and so the thoughts were going by the conveyor belt, and I would just assess if it was relevant to me here and now in this moment, sitting in the park. And I was training my mind. And so it just kept going on, and thought would come. I'd be like, that's not relevant. Well, that's not relevant. And I would audibly say in my mind, this is not relevant. This thought is not relevant. And then that shortened over time because every thought was not relevant. No thoughts are relevant when you're trying to be in that thoughtless state. So I didn't know that then, but I was discovering that. So I'm sitting back with indifference, just watching as these thoughts came in and then came right out. The time they lingered was larger in the beginning, but it started decreasing. I didn't even have time to say this thought is not relevant. I just started saying, no, not this one. No, not that one. No, nope. So the time of me actually attending the thought shortened. The time that the thought stood in my mind shortened. So this process started kind of speeding up. And what I saw, which is a foundation for attaining enlightenment, and I'm writing a whole book on this stuff and detailing what goes on because I've been there several times close. It was just on the brink of it after this first event. And it is what happens is the ego starts giving you thoughts of more importance. So at first it was like dry cleaning, what did you have for lunch today? Things that are just like really routine and not important at all for that day. And then the thoughts started getting more important, more relevant to my life, to my soul and my spirit, because the ego's trying to draw me in. So if I'm showing somebody a bunch of gifts and I'm like, here is a Kleenex and here's a pencil, and they're not extremely excited about that stuff, I have to give more prominent gifts to try to get their attention. Well, here's a silver platter. Here's a gold coin. Here's a raw uncut diamond. Here's a new house. Here's this, here's that. So the thoughts that were coming by on that conveyor belt were more prominent, trying to get my attention. They were the bigger, more shiny, lustrous kind of carrot on the stick. But still, I remained true to what I was going about, was that thought's not relevant, because in that moment, no thought was relevant. I just didn't know that. So I'm going through this, and now I'm not even judging. I'm not even saying no. I'm just seeing the thought and watching it go by and wisp out. And then that's getting faster, but the thoughts are still getting more prominent. And I'm just sitting there, just super observant. Like just that Buddha sitting there watching these thoughts, and they were escalating in prominence, escalating in importance, trying to like pull at my nature, my soul, showing me something bad happening to my girlfriend, some kind of treachery happening, at work, or showing an absolute dream living in Costa Rica and have everything. And still, I did not attend to it. It was just on that conveyor belt. No matter what was coming at me, I was watching it come in and watching it go. And it was whoo, 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 coming in and out. And this is the part where it led up, and I was just in this zone, and it was magical. And I felt like I was just gaining size or substance in some capacity. And I'm sitting there doing this. And I don't know how long I was doing this for, but I had a good 45 minutes in the park. But I was just doing a regular meditation. And I'm going through this process, and the thoughts are getting more prominent. I'm spending less and less and less time with them, and they're going by quicker and quicker and quicker. And then all of a sudden, I'm just like, whoop. And this silence comes. And I don't remember what happened after that, what thought or whatever may have occurred, because there was no thought actually, but everything became loud. The birds chirping, it was all of a sudden like the volume was turned up. They started chirping much louder. I could hear them crisp and clear, as if I never really heard it before. It would be like if I only heard the beauty of a park underwater, what the bird song would sound like, the critters rustling about, the murmur of the people, the traffic, the dogs running around, all that stuff. If I only heard it underwater, and then I surfaced and then heard it above, that would be the description I'd gain. It's worlds apart. It was so crisp and so clear. And I remember opening my eyes and being like, oh my God, it literally overwhelmed my being. I started getting emotional and teary-eyed because I would feel the bench and my clothing even, and I would smell some stuff. And it was like my senses never actually worked before, and they were just turned on and amplified. And visually, it was like looking upon heaven. It was indescribable. I couldn't do it. I couldn't maintain. It was hard to breathe, and I couldn't take everything in because it was so stunning and so glorious. I was in absolute awe of this new sense of being, this new state that I just had entered into. So I'm in the park, and everything is just overwhelming and beautiful and mind-blowing. And I have to go back to work. I'm still like, yeah, well, what do I do? Well, I'll just go back to work. I'm sitting in the park enjoying it because it didn't matter where I went. The buildings were like exquisite and monstrous towers that were like breathtaking, and the sidewalk and the people going by and looking at their facial expressions and seeing them and smelling them and walking by. Everything was a delight. So it wasn't just the park. It was everything in existence was just mesmerizing. So I didn't really care where I went, but I went back to work and tried to describe what had happened to people. And of course, that was just a lost cause. And I saw that it's not possible for me to compute what happened to myself. How the heck am I gonna share that with another person? So I didn't. I just kind of kept to myself. And the experience was so profound and so robust, but I noticed that it started fading a little bit. But I remember before that happened, I even went downstairs into the break room, and my hand just sliding on the railing felt like I was like touching the spirit, like shaking the hands of the spirit of the wood, the tree that it once was. I washed my hands underwater, and it was like a golden nectar was enveloping my flesh and my skin and my hands. And I just felt this warmth and love, and like it was liquid light wrapping around my hands. And that was just water coming from the faucet in the break room. But everything was so extreme and so magnificent and beautiful. And I was just wordless. And I'm trying to maintain this state and everything of being. Eventually, workday ended and I do what I normally do. I got on the bus and went home, and I'm looking at everybody and still having this experience, but now I'm really noticing that it's starting to fade because my mind wasn't prepared for that. My ego was still, a monstrosity then. And so I saw that it just didn't linger. It didn't stay with me. I wasn't meant to keep it there. And I've read and done my research, and a lot of people experience enlightenment for a temporary period of time. And they're meant to, because now we know what to work towards and try to get back to, in a sense, without desire and attachment, of course, but we have tasted it and it's for a reason. So it is a thing in the spiritual realm, and when people are going on their journeys, for them to experience that. So as time went by, I went home, took the bus, and I was so overjoyed to express this to my girlfriend Jess and share this experience. Again, I couldn't do justice, and I was just going on and about it. And she's like, okay, honey, I got it. Wow, it's cool and all, but I just couldn't find the words. And still now, what I'm sharing now and everything that I'm telling you is so diluted. It is a drop of beauty in an ocean. It's just, I can't explain to you how amazing it was, but I'm trying to do my best. But it did fade. And so over time, the next day or two, everything kind of faded into non-existence, and I kind of went back to the way things were. I dipped back under the surface, and my senses were not as acute. Nothing was nearly as clear or beautiful, visually spectacular. But that was my first dance with spirituality. That was my dance with enlightenment. I believe, looking and reading and doing all the research these many, many years, that was what happened. It was a temporary enlightenment, not ananda, not some just ecstasy, blissful moment. It was beyond that. I had no thought during the entire process afterwards. I was just processing information, senses in super heightened and alive, and seeing things that my earthly senses just couldn't have perceived prior to that episode, to that event. So that was the first real spiritual, beautiful thing that happened to me, and many more things came of that, but a lot more of my own research and my own adventure going forward, because that was the start of it. My girlfriend and I, again, we're getting engaged, and the next year, so I was excited to do that and start our journey together. But this is episode 1, and in episode 2, I'm going to talk more about what happened, because things did not go as planned. For those of you who know me and those of you who see my intro, unfortunately, she became sick with cancer, and we fought, but unfortunately, she lost that battle. And that really skyrocketed me into this spiritual realm, into that journey now without looking back. And so that's where I'm going to leave off for next episode here, to share more about that. So this book is a cherished book of mine. I'd highly recommend it. I have a list of about 50 spiritual books out there I can share with you guys. Let me know if you're interested in learning about them. But this is the first episode of Joe's spiritual journey. I'm happy to share it. Please let me know if you have any questions, and please give me a thumbs up in this video if you enjoyed my story. It just helps. And of course, subscribe. I'm looking to build this platform to help more people so that we can all benefit from these shared stories and to have this open conversation here at this channel. And I have a lot of great videos on mindfulness and law of attraction principles and other spiritual techniques that can definitely help you out if you're looking for it. Thank you guys for watching, and I always ask at the end of my videos, please do something unexpectedly kind for another person. Buy them a cup of coffee, pay them a compliment, give them a hug, and tell them you love them. Even if it's a stranger, who cares? It's gonna make their day, and it's sure to make your day as well. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you for episode 2. All right, bye everybody.